practice. Baker Mayfield was throwing picks, the line was missing blocks, the receivers were being beaten in their first joint practice. And Bucs wideout Chris Godwin spoke about Tampa's struggles against the Jags. Take a listen to what he had to say.
You expect when you're going up against a good team that there's going to be some back and forth, so nothing too concerning, but sometimes we just got to have more energy, and we got to bring it, you know what I mean, with to generate our own energy, especially when we're on the road, because in a situation like this, if it's a game, it's going to be a hostile environment, so we got to be able to pull our heads out of our sometimes and get back on track.
There you go. That kind of explains it all. Tristan Wirfs making his way back. They don't have their full receiving core. How do you like what Godwin had to say?
Yeah, this is interesting. Look, I think
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Boog. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun.
That's my fault. I should have said which one of you should go first. So that's on me. Boog, please.
Yeah, these are tough times because it's the dog days of training camp. These guys have been in camp a month already, and there's really about 3 weeks left before the first regular season game. So I understand how hard it is to get up for these practices. If you're the Buccaneers, you got to get to the first regular season game. You got to have Tristan Wirfs healthy. You got to have Ruben Bain healthy. You got to have Baker Mayfield feeling confident. Because if all their pieces are healthy, this is a top 2 or 3 team in the NFC. And that's with the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. That's how much talent this Tampa Bay team has. But if I'm a Buccaneer fan, I wouldn't necessarily be concerned about the lackadaisicalness right now going on in training camp. These are the dog days of summer. You remember these days, Lou. You've come a long way, but you still got 2 or 3 weeks to go before the real bullets start flying. Now, how do you motivate your team to grind through this time to make sure that they're ready to go come week 1?
Yeah, and look, Boog, you played on some great teams. You also know that it's these dog days where everyone is having them, but the best teams find a way to be better than the other people who are going through the dog days, and they rise above it. So that's why, it's going to be, it's a little disappointing if you have these high expectations for a Buccaneers team that they hope they can stay healthy on the offensive line, because that was a revolving door for him a year ago. You hope that Baker Mayfield can stay healthy. Even though he started all 17 games, you hope he can play feeling a little bit better for a full 17-game schedule. Defensively, they've added pieces on the first and second level and the third level. So they have playmakers and a lot of youth being injected into that side of the ball. You want to see this team start to continue to grow and stack positive days, not take 2 steps forward and 1 step back by, maybe having it handed to them by a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are going to be very good this year. They just are. So, yeah, you don't want to overreact to maybe having a bad joint practice and having another team get the best of you. You just don't want it to happen too often. You want these guys to start to develop habits that allow them to be better than their opponent, even when they're not at their best.
Yeah, because this is a team that lost 7 of their last 9 games and missed the playoffs. Yeah. So you can't blame Godwin for wanting to keep the energy up. And also, I know you mentioned his name moments ago, Boog, but new on NFL Live from Adam Schefter, their first-round pick, Ruben Bain Jr., suffered an AC sprain. It is said to be, quote, nothing serious. He is expected to be ready week 1 at Cincinnati. That's good news for the Bucs, because they need him. As we continue the year of the Super Bowl here at ESPN, we tell the story of yet another player who achieved immortality on football's biggest stage by reaching the end zone in the Super Bowl. In the lead up to Super Bowl 37, the Raiders made no secret of the fact that they wanted Bucs defensive back Dwight Smith on the field as much as possible, because the Raiders felt the best way to have success against Tampa's dominant defense was to attack Smith in the passing game. Well, Smith not only heard the chatter, he embraced it. And as a result, he's the only player in Super Bowl history to season. It was kind of a rough performance, though, by the O-line in their joint practice with the Ravens. Now, remember, their center, Nick Allegretti, has missed most of camp with a calf issue. They face a tough opener, though, against the Eagles. Sal Powell caught up with Jaden.
How was practice today with the Ravens?
It was a good one. It's a good learning experience. Blessed to be able to come out here and compete against a team like Baltimore. It was great. It was a great learning experience for us, and we can move forward from this.
What is it about Baltimore's defense that tests you, that was so important about you being against their defense in this practice?
Just the different looks that they throw at you, and the players too also. Man. They got a lot of good players on both sides of the ball. I know it's going to be tough for us to come out here and compete, but we went out here, we made some plays, they made some plays, it was a good back and forth battle.
Jaden, to come back this year, what are some of the things that you've had to do to try to get yourself ready to be in this position to come back and be successful in 2026?
Just being very intentional with my training.
How so?
Everything, just trying to reevaluate everything. Each and every year trying to find ways to get better, whether it's my strength and conditioning, body work, stuff like that, quarterback training, mental training, and also learning a new system. So it's just been very intentional, not just for myself, but for the guys around me also.
He's such a delightful young man. Obviously, Booger, his health is paramount. We know that. What are you looking to see from Jaden under David Blau, their new OC?
Well, first of all, anytime when Sal asked him about today's training camp practices and he said it was a learning experience, that means Baltimore got the best of them a little bit. I'm going to give you a little football translation there.
They did.
As far as this season, no question. As far as this season, here's the thing I'll say. They got to protect him up front. Laremy Tunsil being gone for a couple of months, maybe the entire season, that's not a good thing. So the offensive line has got to be able to hold up. They got to be able to run the football. And then Jaden Daniels has got to stay healthy. Like, he's got to understand when the journey's over, slide, get out of bounds. This is not the SEC. These boys will hurt you on this level, and he's got to realize that. They signed Stephon Diggs to go along with Terry McLaurin. They got a couple of good pieces, Antonio Williams. Can they push the football down the field? I think the bigger the play they can get, the more the field is going to open up. And when the field opens up, now the dynamic athletic ability of Jaden Daniels can show. But if they can't run the football and get single coverage and throw the ball deep, then the defense is going to slowly smother this offense. And I don't care how good he is. When you got 11 sets of eyes on you, he's not going to be able to get loose, Lou.
Yeah, it all starts up front. And as Hannah led off this segment talking about their center, Nick Allegretti, who's been out, now you're talking about a guy who's at the command and control center along with the quarterback. I don't know how they divvy up the responsibilities as far as identifying fronts, setting protections, changing protections, but those two have to work in concert. So if he's not out on the football field, while at the same time they're trying to learn a new offensive coordinator here in David Blau, who's now going to be in Jaden Daniels' ear, that just slows down the progress and the ability for this offense to get on the same page that is already up front, missing their best player in Laremy Tunsil, who's going to be out for a while, and going up against a defense like the Baltimore Ravens, where Mike Macdonald has already shown you early on in the preseason, hey, look, I'm kind of like starting to already let people see a little bit of what we're trying to get done here as far as the different looks we can show you. We're not running vanilla defense here. We're trying to test you right now because you know what? I'm trying to teach my guys how we're going to play. So, for Jaden Daniels, I'm sure it was a learning experience, but that doesn't deter me one bit from believing that this guy is special. We saw it in 2024. We know what happened in 2025. His football IQ has done nothing but expand since that time, and I still think he's the same player and will be an even better player. But we also know that quarterback is a very dependent position. And if everything is breaking down around him, it'll be easy for people to say, "Well, told you Jaden Daniels wasn't as good as Drake May, and he's one of those guys who's a little bit overrated, and Caleb Williams is better than him." No, he needs his help, and they need to get everybody on the football field if they want to get off the ground and get going.
Bo Nix also, you could throw in that discussion. That's just an incredible class. They have a really interesting schedule. I mentioned they begin the season on the road with divisional games against the Eagles, also the Cowboys, and then they host the Seahawks. So we could see early what this team is made of. Defense dominated the day.